Along the way to building a ridiculously successful business, something always happens that changes everything. It doesn't need to be a monumental something, just a shift that takes you from ordinary to extraordinary. That's what happened to Brian Smith, the founder of the iconic UGG Boot brand. Let's go and find out exactly what that shift was. Hey, before we do that, this episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show is made entirely possible thanks to Fastmail and 52ways.biz. Fastmail is this cool email provider that's not only super quick, it's also ad-free, totally private, and more secure than, something that's really secure. Packages start from the cost of a cheeky little latte per month, and you can grab a free 30-day trial plus get 15% off your first year over at fastmail.com/Timbo. And then there's 52ways.biz, a free one-day business event for people like you and I, business owners that want to grow. Hosted by Dale Beaumont, it's 8 hours of solid business building gold. You can grab your free tickets for you and a mate or two or three over at 52ways.biz, B-I-Z, before it's too late.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show, where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. You, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner and you're ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. And that's exactly what we do around here. Been doing it for 366 episodes. If it's your first time round, welcome. If you've been with me for the journey, 8 years now, love your work. Hey, big show today. Brian Smith, the founder of the iconic UGG Boots brand, joins us. Resident techspert Dale Beaumont shares another productivity tool. I share another low-cost marketing idea that'll put a smile on your dial. We go back into the vault, revisiting a chat I had with AFL high-performance coach Mark McKeon, and I've got some exciting news on next week's guest. No big name, but an exciting and very clever launch story nonetheless. You're going to love it. As per usual, team, there's marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in.
Life just got a whole lot easier.
Hi, it's Dale Beaumont here from 52ways.biz, the best one-day business workshop ever, with another productivity tool to make your business and life a whole lot easier. So what is the tool that I have for you today? Well, it's called Snagit. That's S-N-A-G-I-T, Snag It. And it's a great tool that you can use to capture a video of your computer screen. Now, unless you have this software, you probably can't appreciate how useful that it will become for you. You can use it in so many different ways. You can use it for replying to emails. Instead of writing, what you can do is do a video of the email and talk over the top of it and then send back a video link. You can also use it when you're reviewing work from graphic designers or website developers. So rather than writing, again, long emails, you not only tell them what they need to change or fix, but you actually show them as well, which means a whole lot less confusion, and also you're going to save a lot more time. And the other thing you can use it for is documenting systems within your business. So you can create videos of all the things that you do, and then you can upload them to another service that I'm going to tell you about on another episode, and then you start to document everything that you do in your business. It's a great tool, so you should definitely check it out. There you go. I told you life would get a whole lot easier. This has been Dale Beaumont from 52ways.biz. Now, back to you, Timbo.
Life just got a whole lot easier.
Great tip, Dale. Thanks, buddy. Now, whilst I don't use Snagit, I do use the screen capture tool built into my Mac, and I love it. Great for training my marketing virtual assistant. Great for providing feedback on designs and copy. and just generally a really good productivity tool, but I know Snagit takes it to a whole nother level. Hey, if you're loving the productivity tools Dale is sharing, then you're seriously going to love his 52 Ways live events that are touring Australia and New Zealand between now and August 2017. 8 hours of solid business building gold. And you can grab a free ticket or 3 for you and some mates over at 52ways.biz. Righto. Coming up after today's interview, I'll share another low-cost marketing idea in that segment we've all grown to love called What Have You Got to Lose? But right now, let's meet today's successful business owner, Brian Smith, the founder of the iconic UGG Boots brand. Now, we cover plenty of ground in this chat, including how he built such an amazing brand, how you can kind of learn from that, the importance of focusing on niches, the power of listening to your customers. He even gets a little woo-woo on us. Nothing wrong with a little woo-woo. You know, I love it. Plus, Brian shares the moment when UGG Boots went from a struggling footwear business run by a couple of salty old surfers, well, actually, they were young at the time, to something so much greater. In fact, it's now a multi-billion-dollar brand, although Brian no longer has anything to do with it. And I'll touch more on that after the interview. I started off by asking Brian where the idea for UGG Boots came from.
Well, for me, it came from when I was an accountant in Perth and hated being one. And after 10 years of studying, I graduated and quit the same day as a chartered accountant. And I'd always noticed that the big trends like waterbeds and Levi jeans and all that were coming out of California. So I decided to come here and look for the next big thing to bring back to Australia. So after about 3 months of surfing, I still hadn't found the next big thing, but I fluked upon this advertisement for a pair of sheepskin boots in a surfer magazine, and I thought, oh my God, there's no sheepskin boots in America. And so I called up the manufacturer who ran that ad and bought 6 pairs of samples. And that was my beginning in the world of sheepskin and the world of UGG.
Wow. Just go back to that time in Perth. You've graduated from accounting. You have got a lifetime of that, because back then, you know, careers for life. You know, you had one job.
It was. Yeah.
What was it in your psyche that had you want to head over to the States and find the next big thing? That's a very kind of 2017 thing to do.
Yeah, well, I just discovered yoga back then. That's like the very late 70s. And I was meditating one day and thought, you know, what on earth can I do? And at the same time, I just ripped off the cover of a brand new album called Dark Side of the Moon. And I was listening to the words, and the second song went, you know, tired of lying in the sunshine, staying home to watch the rain. You are young and life is long, and there is time to kill today. And I went, oh my God, he's talking to me. Wow. And then it went on but then one day you find 10 years have got behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun, you know. And that's when I got covered in goosebumps and realized, oh, my God, I've been running on the spot all these years, not liking what I'm doing. And so it was that, like, spiritual nudge that, you know, that's what I call the goosebumps. You know, it's like a spiritual nudge to take notice and get up and do something.
You people who have epiphanies annoy me. You're not the first successful business owner on this show to look, I think we all have them. I'm not sure we all listen to them. And you,
that's right.
You acted on it. So you race over to California. How old are you?
I just turned 70, so I came over when I was 29, 30, just about 30.
I didn't actually ask how old are you now, but thank you for sharing that. I just turned 50, so, you know. But you headed over to California in your late 20s. You're surfing. Yeah. You see an ad for sheepskin boots. Now, just to be clear, back here, sheepskin boots were a thing?
Yeah, I would say 1 in 2 Australians had some sort of sheepskin footwear, whether it was slippers or, you know, those crude boots that used to be around back then. They were certainly not the product that I sell now, but, they were what they were, and I just knew how comfortable they were, and I just thought it would be an instant transition to America.
Right. So you bought 6. What happened?
Well, what I didn't understand, that Americans don't get sheepskin. Australians know that it's rugged and it's water. You can't hurt them by getting them wet, and they don't sweat. Whereas over here, people think of sheepskin as hot and prickly and delicate. You can't wear it in the mud and the slush. So it was a really, really hard conversion. I thought it would be super easy, like instant millionaire stuff, but it was like a 15-year grind to get it to where it became really popular.
Was it really? 15 years?
Yeah. Oh, at least, yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, let's try and kind of dissect that because hanging around for 15 years I mean, you've got some patience. I mean, you could surf and meditate, I suppose, in that 15 years to keep you interested. But what were you doing wrong for so long, I say lovingly?
Well, I started, my first season, when I bought those samples, I went around to the shoe stores. They shut me out completely. They just didn't get it. And then I sort of pivoted, being a good entrepreneur, when you hit the wall, you have to look elsewhere. So I figured, well, all my buddies up at Malibu thought they were great. And it realized that all the California surfers who'd been to Australia had brought a bunch back for their buddies. So within the surf community, it was pretty hot. So I started going to the surf shops and just with my samples asking if they'd be interested, they made it sound like I was going to be that instant millionaire. So I bought 500 pairs. I raised 20 grand from investors and bought 500 pairs. And then I went back to all these surf shops but they all said, oh man, you're going to do great. But, we couldn't sell them in our store. We just sell surfboards and trunks and sandals, but don't worry, you're going to do great. So my first year's sales was 28 pairs. It was like a real awakening.
Yeah.
And so for the first couple of years, I just started doing swap meets and street fairs, and I had a huge product line in the back of my van. So at Malibu Beach, every time I'd finish surfing, I was open for business, and I had like a retail store going out of the back of my van. So that kept me alive. But, for 3 years, I had to get summer jobs. And in the meantime, I started advertising, and now I'm going to answer your question about what did I do wrong, right?
Yeah. So
I hired these models, guy and a girl and a photographer, and posed them on the beach on the rocks, surfing the sunset in the background and perfect hair and clothes and everything. And I ran those ads, and the sales went to about $5,000 that season. And I thought, wow, something's wrong. So the next year I hired better looking models and a more expensive photographer and posed them on the beach again and ran those ads, and sales went to about, $12,000 to $15,000. And I'm going, this is crazy. They should be just taken off. And I was having a beer with one of my surf shop owners, one of my customers, and he just said, oh, shut up, Brian. And he called out to the back to all these young, 12, 13-year-old grommets, and he goes, hey, you guys, what do you think of UGG? And they all came out and they were just saying, oh, those Uggs, man, they're so fake. Have you seen their ads? Those models, they can't surf. And instantly I knew I'm sending the wrong, image to my target market. So again, pivoting, I called up a buddy, Pete Townend, who's another Aussie who was running the National Scholastic Surf Association up in Orange County. And I said, hey, Pete, do you have any young kids that are going to turn pro soon? Because I can't afford to pay them. And he gave me a couple of young guys. And instead of the expensive photographer, I just took my little Canon Sure Shot with them. And we went surfing down at Black's Beach and Trestles, which are two famous surf spots here. And each one is about a mile to walk to. And I just started running those ads in the Surfer and Action Sports Retailer magazines, and the sales went to $200,000.
Wow.
Just purely because I matched the image with my target market. Every little kid who reads Surfer magazine would just die to be walking on those treks with Mike Parsons and Ted Robinson, and I finally twigged onto what marketing was all about, and that became my passion from then on. And that's why the UGG brand took off to become $1 billion brand now,
Simply through the simple idea of understanding your audience better. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Giving them what they want to see, yeah. You don't sell your product, you sell the benefits of your product.
I don't think enough business owners understand that. And it's, you know, read any marketing text and it's going to say sell the benefits, not the features. And, you know, from an easy point of view, you can talk about a feature and then insert the two words which means, and that leads you to describe the benefit. But
that's right, yeah.
Amazing.
Well, I was able to capture it all visually. So I didn't even have any copy in those two ads. It was just, hey, 6 a.m., Trestles Beach, Mike Parsons and Ted Robinson. That was the only copy. And you could hardly see the UGG boots because, the photos were so, the guys were in the distance and the UGG boots might have been about 1/4 of an inch big. But it didn't matter. The benefit was, wow, I could be there with Mike Parsons if I had a pair of UGG boots.
And shot on the Canon Sure Shot too, Brian. Let's not forget that, mate. I mean, really, I love it. I love the fact that, I worked in a big advertising agency for 10 years and I've seen what can be spent on production, yet your production budget was minimal. So did you then go, okay, now I just need to double down on my media spend. I've got my message right. Now I just need to find as much money as I can to run as many ads as I can throughout the States, or what happened?
Well, no, it didn't go that way because I was, even though the sales were 200,000, there wasn't that much profit left over at the end of the year after all the trade shows and everything. So what I did was instead of trying to go big, I just went niche by niche. So the next market was skiing and snowboarders because snowboarding had just started then. And I just did the same thing. I got these pros, and then I wanted to get back into the Midwest, like back in Minnesota and Chicago and New York, and none of them had ever read a surf magazine and didn't really snowboard that much. But I found out they all play ice hockey in the winter, so there was a bigger market than surfing. And so I did the same thing, got some young pro skaters, and so I just duplicated that urge to be in the photograph into every different niche that I tried.
Clever, very clever. So slow, and hence the 15 years, because still the 15 years seems a very long time, but you just slowly niched down, right?
Yeah, well, I wrote a book called The Birth of a Brand just a couple of years ago, and it's done really well. And the theme of the book is that you can't give birth to adults, right? Every business starts with someone conceiving the idea and then taking action. So the birth of UGG was buying 6 pairs of samples, right? And then every business or service just goes into this horrible infancy, and it just lies there and lies there and lies there. And there's no amount of overfeeding or shaking the cradle or urging it. It can't get up and go to college, right? Mm-hmm. But eventually it'll become a toddler, and that's a cool stage for a business because the first early adopters are using your product and people are writing articles about you. And that leads into the youth, which is a great phase because you've got consistent orders, consistent production, sales force is doing great, the shipping and warehouse is fantastic. And you can run a $20 million business in that youth phase. Mm-hmm. But if it's a really good product or a really good service, like, UGG was a great product, you'll hit the teenage years and then all bets are off, because you remember when you were a teenager, you wanted to be at every party in town?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
still do.
With a business, it's like, the business, you want to be in every trade show all across the country. You want to be in the huge retailers, and it's the kiss of death, cash-wise to expand so fast. And I almost lost control of UGG twice during those teenage years, but eventually you put the controls in and it becomes a mature business. So why I love, doing podcasts and speaking from the stage is so many entrepreneurs feel like they're failing when they're in that infancy period. And I reassure them, hey, it's not failure. It's just the way it is. You've just got to keep feeding, changing diapers, and eventually your toddler will get up and, start moving around.
I love the analogy. Is there a timeline you've put against that analogy, or is it different for each business?
It's different for every business and every product, but with the onset of the internet, things are accelerated so fast these days. Back with me, it was, I had to wait each year for a trade show to showcase the new product. Well, shit, now you can just put it out there and have instant viewers.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is, it doesn't matter how small you are. You could be working out of your garage, but if you've got a great website and great delivery and a great message on your website, people don't know that you're not a multi-million-dollar business, So there's so many advantages these days with the internet that makes starting a business so much faster.
It's an incredible enabler, isn't it? I mean, you must reflect every now and then on what it would have been like if you were starting UGG now versus back then, because everything's changed. And I'm actually hosting a talk later this week, interviewing 3 highly successful Australian business owners, and the theme of it is, how much is the internet an enabler of doing business so much more efficiently these days.
Sure.
Okay, so you've nailed your marketing, you've got clear on your target audience, you're doubling down, you're slowly spreading yourself beyond surfing to ice hockey to snowboarding. Tick, tick, tick. Let's just talk about product, because are you still buying product from someone else, and did you move into making your own product?
No, we never made our own product. With the small period where we took over a competitor that was marketing under UGHS, and they had a little manufacturing operation up in Oregon, which we inherited, but we didn't want to be in the manufacturing business. We were really just importers and distributors. And, the big break came probably after about 13 or 14 years, when I knew that we had all these niche markets, but it was a really disjointed, image for the product. Nobody knew if it was a surfing product or a skiing product. And so I came up with the idea of casual comfort. And I decided I want to be on the main page of this newspaper here called USA Today, which is a national paper. And they have a lifestyle section which really forecasts all the trends. And so I hired a PR agency in Boston, and we did this tour all the way from New York, Philadelphia, all the way across to Chicago, where the fashion editor for USA Today was. And I put together this really slick half-hour presentation and a media kit and everything. And I remember walking into the office at 5 to 3. Our appointment was at 3 o'clock. And the girl comes running out and says, "Oh, Brian, I'm so sorry. I've made a double booking. I've only got 5 minutes." No. And I just thought, oh, God, there goes my whole, $60,000 investment, but just again pivoting, I just reached down, I pulled out this tattered old folder I had with all of these celebrity photos of Neil Young and Sting and Tom Petty and all these Hollywood actors, and in it was one of Pamela Anderson on the Baywatch set, and she was just in a red swimsuit and UGG boots, and I flicked by it because nobody wears UGG boots like that. And she called me back and said, "Hey, what was that? What was that?" And she wrote down the name of the photographer and the tabloid that someone had sent me from London. And she said, "Do you have a media kit?" "Yep, got to go." And in like 4 minutes, she was gone. And I was totally dejected because I thought we'd blown it. And yet the next day I got into the airport at Chicago on my way back to San Diego, and I open up USA Today, and there on the lifestyle section is front and center this huge shot of Pamela Anderson. And the second page was all about the sheepskin category. And she listed all of the trends in sheepskin and now the footwear thing. And she listed all the competitors, which at first really peed me off, but eventually I realized that, wow, she just took this from being my product and created a whole category of shearling footwear. And that meant all of the big department store buyers who were really timid about buying anyone's single product, they could now start picking from the category. And because I was the leader, it just launched the company into this whole national area of casual comfort.
How fantastic. Gosh, you had some, I was going to say you've had some lucky breaks, but what's that old saying? For you, it took you 15 years to be an overnight success. But
yeah, I call it karma. You put out an effort and it comes back, both good and bad. And the weird thing, you talk about real karma, is that shortly after that, and this is just before I sold the company because it got too big for me, I'd been for 2 or 3 years sending 20 or 30 pairs of boots to all these individual people in England because this girl, Trudy, wanted us to just, send it to all her friends. And it was Trudy Styler, who was the wife of Sting. Oh. And it was a pain in the butt every year. But this one year she called and said, Brian, I need a huge favor. I've just been to this seminar. It's changed my world. I want a thank you gift. I want the most perfect pair of size, whatever, tall sand boots. And here's the address. Do you have a pen? And I write down Oprah, care of Oprah Winfrey Show, And I mean, we were on the best picks for Christmas for like 20 minutes, 2 seasons in a row, with nothing but UGG boots. Everybody in the audience had a pair of UGG boots. All the elves are running around on stage in UGG boots.
Unreal.
And you could not pay. That was when Oprah was at a very, very peak, and you could not have paid in dollars for that amount of exposure we got. And that was what launched it into a worldwide brand that ultimately, ended up being in the billions. So. Call it luck or karma. I mean, we paid our dues to get Trudy to sort of give us a call,
I don't know whether we can do this, Brian. It may take weeks, years. I mean, there's probably people at Harvard studying this next question, but I'm going to give it a go. You have got, I guess it's a pretty good product. I mean, you're not manufacturing it. You haven't mentioned you haven't sat down and done the drawings on what the ultimate UGG boot looks like. You're just buying it off someone else. You have got Oprah wearing it. You have got a book that I think you just said Bob Dylan, Sting, Pamela Anderson wearing UGG boots. You are starting to make a name in some big industries like surfing and snowboarding.
Yeah.
And you have become a cultural icon, the UGG boot. And I'm just trying to figure out how do you do that? Can you kind of, I don't even know what the question is because, maybe you don't even know the answer.
Well, I think I know where you're going because everybody asks you, how do you start a $1 billion brand? And the answer is you don't.
Of course you don't.
You have no idea.
But how do you get it to be? Were you just lucky that it was a piece of footwear that was like no other? And
well, several things. One, the product itself is fantastic. I mean, it was crap when I first started. I mean, these boots were so bad. But over years of product development, and even though I didn't make any boots, I did design several styles. Like I wanted to do a lace-up sneaker, which I did. That was a big hit, and I did several different designs and improvements that really kept us at the lead of the category. So there was some product development, but it was really the fact that when anybody put a pair of boots on with bare feet, they went, oh my God, and that was the most common thing I heard in that whole business. And so the product, that saved me through a lot of disastrous business decisions. But when you get a great product and a great image that I developed with Casual Comfort, and then some really good people in marketing in the company that I sold to, they're the ones that really took it mainstream into the department stores and capitalized on the Oprah story.
Celebrity endorsement, is it massive? It's been massive for you.
I mean, you go pick a major brand, and they've all got some very, very successful celebrity behind it.
It's interesting. I'm working on an interview. You having lived in America for so long, you might not know the brand Swiss multivitamins.
No, I don't know that.
Massive brand in Australia, one of the biggest spenders on TV advertising in Australia, just been sold to a Chinese company for billions of dollars.
Wow.
But their whole advertising strategy, their creative strategy is celebrity endorsement. So you're seeing the captain of the Australian cricket team, rugby team, Olympic swimmers, that's all you see in the ads. They must be spending a fortune, and it's my major question for him is, well, clearly it's been worth it, but understanding the numbers is another thing, I reckon, when you start to spend that kind of dough.
Yeah, well, my first two celebrities cost me 6 pairs of boots each.
Love it.
So it's all scalable.
UGG was always a wholesaler, correct? You never... Did you actually open in your time? Because, and I know you told me how much you can talk about this next part of your business life, Brian, and how much you can't. But you lost the control of the company twice.
Yeah, that was when I was trying to raise money and trying to keep ahead of the competition. So I was always exceeding myself, but I did manage to always get it back then. But when I sold the company at the end, it was time. I had it up to about 15 million, and it was looking like a $20 million season, and I really didn't know how to finance it. And a buddy of mine had just taken his company public on a brand called Teva. I don't know if you have Teva sandals in Australia. But huge thing. And I knew he was sitting on about 25, 30 million in cash. And I saw him. We'd always crossed paths on the road when we were selling in the early days. Mm-hmm. And we would joke, hey, why don't you buy me? You can't afford it. We would joke with each other. And this time I happened to be going to a big trade show in Atlanta, and I saw him in baggage claim at the other end of the terminal, and I just got goosebumps again, which is always my guiding sort of instinct. When I got these goosebumps, I went, oh my God, it's perfect. And so I went down to Doug and I said, hey buddy, if ever it's going to happen, now's the time. And that afternoon we had the accountants talking to each other, and we sold out for cash. And it's like going public without having to go public. It was very, very, very lucky.
So that was the second time you sold the business. Is it the last time?
Yeah.
And it was a $15 million business then?
Yeah.
You've gone, beauty, I can go back to surfing?
Pretty much.
UGG's gone on to some big things. I mean, as you say, it's a $1 billion brand.
Yeah, and it's when Oprah got hold of it, then the world sort of woke up, and then you didn't have to try them on to believe in them. Mm-hmm. You could just buy it on Oprah's word, and then the styles multiplied and the colors multiplied, and mostly it went across to Europe and Asia. And like in Europe, it still hasn't even hit half of its pace yet. They're still lagging way behind America.
As you don't have an involvement in the brand anymore, do you look at it with envy, with joy?
Oh, joy. Every time I see a pair of UGG boots on the street, I just do a little skip and jump, and I'm still involved in the company, because now that I've got this book, The Birth of a Brand, and when I speak from the stage, I tell stories all about building the UGG boot business, and it's super inspirational and motivational. I try and help entrepreneurs see that your most disappointing disappointments nearly always become your greatest blessings. That happened to me so many times. And another one is, when they're in that that infancy stage, I just go that, hey, the quickest way for a tadpole to become a frog is live every day happily as a tadpole, So lots of inspiration.
Tell me about, okay, let me just call you on, the darkest days can be blessings, because there are business owners listening who are nodding their head going, yep, thank God I had that failure because I learned from it. But there's business owners listening right now who are right in the midst of that failure, who are really considering, it's going to be so much easier going back to work for the man. What do you say to them without it sounding like a platitude?
Yeah, well, number one, I don't want to say this is 100% true, because sometimes there are products or services that people are trying to push that really don't have any competitive edge. So it's going to be a grind. But when I ask this from the stage, I say, okay, everybody put your hands up if you've had some disaster that's happened in the last 12 months And at the time you thought it was the end, but now you look back and think that's the best thing that ever happened to me. I would say between 2/3 and 3/4 of the people put their hands up. And that's just a statement of life. If you can, your most disappointing disappointments will nearly always become your greatest blessings.
It's interesting what you say about, first and foremost, have a great product or service, have a competitive edge.
You got to believe in it as well.
Believe in it, yeah. I'm interviewing a fellow later this week who he was a pharmacist, and he created Chemist Warehouse, which is the biggest chain of pharmacies in Australia. Complete disruptor brand. And what he said was, as a pharmacist, his competitive edge when starting it was that he knew other pharmacists, so he could go around and talk to them about coming into his network, and that was his competitive edge. So I think, it's such an important thing to realise, because otherwise, as you say, there's probably business owners listening who are pushing shit uphill.
Yeah.
Right?
And, at some point you got to be realistic. And the other factor comes in, you have a family and kids to support.
Yeah.
And there are all sorts of factors. So, I was lucky. I was single through the hardest years of UGG, and, I'd actually got a little bit of momentum by the time I got married and had kids.
Always the way. It's often a question I ask when someone's ridiculously successful. I sort of do stop and pause and say, have you got a family?
Really?
Well, it's so much easier without one, right? When you're in those early days of building a business. Not always.
Yeah.
But now you are, I've watched some videos of you presenting. You are a spiritual guy. There's a phrase I use often on this show, which is woo-woo. It's, the woo-woo factor, right?
Right.
You really listen to it. You talk a lot about trusting your inner voice. For you, it's the goosebumps, is it?
That's the physical manifestation of my spirit telling me, hey, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
So I even talk about that on the stage, and I say, put your hand up if you've had goosebumps. Well, everybody does. And I say, in my mind, that's like, God's not way out there in the universe, in the heavens somewhere. There's a spark or a fragment of God in every one of us, and it has a plan for what it wants us to do. And every time we make a decision that's in alignment with its goals, it sends a message, and the only way it can reach us is through this electrochemical mechanism we call a body, and it comes out in the form of goosebumps. So I tell people on the stage, hey, next time you get the goosebumps, just stop for a second and ask yourself, hey, did I just make a sort of a life-changing decision?
It's fascinating, mate. I got goosebumps at the moment. I was heading to bed last night. I was standing in front of the bookshelf because it's time for a new book. I've finished the last one. Standing there, every book in the shelf I've read. I thought, I really want to read something tonight, and I pulled out Dr. Wayne Dyer's book, You'll See It When You Believe It.
I love it, yeah.
I imagine you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I got stuck. I probably read about 50 pages last night, and it's really kind of reiterating what you're just saying. So right now I'm going, what's in that? How did that happen? What's that synchronicity all about?
Yeah, well, you just hit upon a truth that's right for you.
Correct. You before we head off, Brian, and I've loved chatting to you, mate. You've got 4 positive affirmations that you carry with you on a daily basis. Do you want to do you mind sharing what they are?
Sure. I found these in a philosophical book about 25 years ago, and I typed them out on a piece of paper, and I've carried that piece of paper forward in my daily planner for 25 years. And they sound negative, but they're 4 of the most positive statements you'll ever hear. It's feast upon uncertainty, fatten upon disappointment, enthuse over apparent defeat, and invigorate in the presence of difficulties. And what these statements do is, when anything happens, things get difficult, I've just got so blasé with it, I go, damn, why did that happen? Damn. Okay, what's good about it? Mm-hmm. And it's uncanny, but within a half an hour or an hour or a day, you figure out some way around it, and then you look back and say, wow, I'm glad that happened, Or, fatten upon disappointment. You can, the number of times I got shut out by retailers or, things went wrong, I would just sort of suck it up and say, okay, well, that's where I'm at. That's the business, So, and the beauty is, the best one is enthuse over apparent defeat, because defeat is not real until the second you give up. That's the only time defeat will get you. And as long as you can enthuse, when things look really bleak, and as long as you can keep hanging in there and have faith, it's amazing that you'll get through it, even in a matter of days, and things will start to look brighter again, because we all have our moments of despair. I used to wake up in the middle of the night with cold sweats and just this feeling of dread. I didn't know where the rent was coming from, or, how these business things were going to get solved. And I came to believe that there's only two real emotions. One is love and one is fear. And I wrote in my book, that the way I got around this was every time I'd have that dread in the middle of the night where it goes over and over and over and over in your mind, the only way to break the cycle is to say, I choose love, I choose love, I choose love, I choose love. And after 3 or 4 minutes, your whole physiology changes. Your chest relaxes and your muscles relax, and in the morning everything's bright again. So would you believe that's probably that topic is where I get most of my mail from readers of the book when they write me and say, oh my God, I didn't really think much about it, but I tried it the other night and it really, really works.
Mate, I have no doubt. And it's so refreshing to listen to a successful business owner talk in such soft emotional terms, because business is hard. And there's a lot of hard asses out there. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for taking us into that space. I upon putting the book down, Wayne Dyer's book, putting it down last night, I thought, what am I going to think about as I go to sleep? And again, something similar to what you talked about. He talks about we're spiritual. We're not human beings. Having a human experience. We're not human beings having a human experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And, we're getting pretty heavy here, about as heavy as I've got on this show after 300 and almost 70 episodes, Brian.
Oh, that's great.
Mate,
the real thing is that life is going on every single day all around you, and business is just something you fill your time in with.
Nice.
Sure you got to pay the bills, but real life is not your business. Real life is living and loving and enjoying and laughing. And if you can keep a certain balance of that with the business, then you're going to be a really successful, happy person.
Thank you, buddy. Love it. Great story. Thank you for bringing UGG to the world. I'm looking at my wife's now sitting outside the front door, and
cool.
Probably time for an update, but, she does love them. So thank you for sharing, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
There you go, team. Brian Smith, the original founder of the iconic UGG Boots brand. Now, you may have picked up on the fact that Brian got out of UGG Boots well before it became the billion-dollar brand it is today. And as much as I would have liked to have dug deeper into that part of the story, I got the sense in my pre-interview with him that there were some areas we just couldn't discuss. That's okay. Still a great story. And you can find out more about Brian over at briansmithspeaker.com, where you can also buy his book, The Birth of a Brand. Hey, coming up, I share my top 3 attention grabbers from that fireside chat with Brian Smith. Plus, I've got another low-cost marketing idea for you. But first, have you heard of Fastmail? This show is lovingly supported by Fastmail, an insanely secure, ad-free email hosting service for that beautiful business of yours. I asked Fastmail's operations engineer, aka lead geek, Rob Norris, to wrap some numbers around Fastmail. And didn't he get excited?
All right, well, we have about 150,000 users around the world. We deal with about 30 to 40 million emails every day. I think about 30 million of them is spam that we reject. So there's about 4 or 5 million legitimate emails a day that come through the system. We have 500 terabytes of just backup storage. So this is not the day-to-day mail that people use, but just all of their mail, last ditch, the world is on fire. We've got a copy of everything. So that's a ton of that. And we operate at that scale, but the company is probably only around 20 people. We run small, but we pack a punch.
Fast Mail, taking the fear out of Armageddon. Packages start from less than $4 a month. Grab a free 30-day trial plus 15% off your first year over at fastmail.com/Timbo. Okay, my top 3 attention grabbers from my chat with Brian Smith, the founder of UGG Boots. Thanks to 52ways.biz and Fast Mail. Attention grabber number 1. I loved this quote of his. You can't give birth to adults. I love it. Now, this applies not only to growing your business, but also the growing of a marketing strategy. Too many business owners have an expectation that the minute they launch a marketing initiative, whether it be a podcast or an advertising campaign or whatever, that it's got to generate immediate ROI. Like, I get it. I get the importance of, we've got to get business in the door now, but I also get the importance of being patient. You can't give birth to adults. Attention grabber number 2, niche down. Instead of going national with a successful surfer advertising campaign that Brian came up with, I love how he chose to identify other niches and embed the UGG brand that way. When it comes to creative marketing concepts, one size does not fit all. So it's worth spending quality time getting your message right for each niche. And attention grabber number 3, have a guiding instinct. I like this one. It's a little bit woo-woo. It's okay. For Brian, goosebumps are his way of knowing whether something is right or wrong. For me, I get this feeling deep within my gut. And it's a big gut. I love a little bit of self-deprecating humour. The challenge is to honour that feeling, that instinct, to actually have the courage to listen to it. That's the hard part. Hey, what grabbed your attention? Love to know. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/366 and let me know.
What have you got to lose?
It's time for one simple yet effective marketing idea that you can implement immediately. One that won't cost you a fortune and that might just generate you more awareness, more inquiry, and ultimately, more sales. I call today's idea the Happy Holiday Offer. One of the best times to send emails to your users, to your customers, is during the holidays. It's true that around this time, your customers probably get inundated with emails, but a lot of people don't actually mind that much. In fact, they look forward to the opportunity to take advantage of the special offers they know businesses send out at that time. They know it will be crazy, but the special deals make it all worth the while. So if you want to boost conversions over the next holiday period, try sending out a timely email. Here's my 3 steps to creating that timely, happy holiday offer. Step 1. Decide what you want to offer. Maybe it's a 2-for-1 deal, or buy this and get this special, or maybe it's free shipping. Whatever it is, make it seem of high value whilst not breaking your bank. Step 2, once you've decided on your offer, design your campaign in your email client like MailChimp or ActiveCampaign. In order for your holiday offer to be successful, take the time to theme your email to coincide with whatever holiday you plan to send it out over. And work with a designer to create some original graphics for your campaign to spice things up even more. Step 3, send your email out and track how it impacts on your sales. And here's the pro tip, team. If it works, look for the next holiday opportunity to send a similar email out. Just be careful not to overdo it. Your offers will be less enticing the more often you do them. There you go. That's my 3 steps to creating a timely and happy holiday offer. You can head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/366 where you'll find some additional resources to help you bring that offer to life, including a blog post on 30 creative ideas for your holiday email marketing. And if you would like help implementing any of the low-cost marketing ideas I share in this segment, and there's been over 30 so far, go ahead and join the Small Business Big Marketing Club over at crankmymarketing.com, where I'll personally support you daily on your marketing journey. So, what have you got to lose? Well, that almost wraps up another episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show. But don't worry, it's all okay. There is plenty of marketing gold coming your way in the weeks ahead, including a chat with Cara Lauder of UGG Boot Company. Now, Cara lives in the beautiful Pilbara area of Western Australia. She works in a mine there, and she's in the process of launching a new Australian cowboy boot brand. And I gotta tell you, she is doing some things mighty, mighty right that not only apply to launching a new business, but you could apply them today in your business, no matter how old it is. I'm really excited to bring that to you next week. Hey, have you listened to the chat I had with high-performance AFL coach Mark McKeon a couple of years ago? He spent over 15 years training some of Australia's best athletes.
I love golf, and there's a thing in golf that's called fearless golf, and what it's basically about is stop worrying about the consequences of your shot and just do what you do what you know is right. And if you can apply that skill to a lot of things in life, then I think it helps you. And again, I don't mean you being close to self-improvement, but sometimes you just got to get out of your own way.
Loved that interview. Mark goes on to explain an amazing productivity hack he calls the Go Zone, which involves finding that 1 to 2 hours each day when you perform at your mental best. You'll find my full interview with him, plus hundreds more, over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, or you can go ahead and subscribe free on iTunes or Stitcher or your favourite podcast catcher. I like Pocket Casts myself. Hey, I'd love to hear from you. Email me, tim@timreid, reid.com.au. You can join the Small Business Big Marketing Facebook page. You can find me. Just Google me. Google the show. Hey, be sure to grab your free seat at Dale Beaumont's 52 Ways events that are touring Australia and New Zealand starting in May this month and going through till August. Simply go to 52 Ways, that's 52ways.biz, and grab your seat now as they are limited. And check out Fastmail, private, secure, ad-free email hosting that's lightning fast. You can grab a free 30-day trial, plus get a listener-exclusive 15% off over at fastmail.com/Timbo. And as I said earlier, packages start from under $4 a month, the price of a cheeky little latte. Hey, if you love the Small Business Big Marketing Show, why wouldn't you? Seriously, then let another business owner or three know about it. In fact, can you grab their phone and download it into their podcast app like today, tomorrow, all of this week? Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. Thanks for tuning in. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.